Okay, hi, welcome to the PCI DSS Requirement 12.9.2, supporting customer request. How do we do that? It says third-party service provider must provide customer with information about PCI DSS. Remember, that's what's like, you got to do your job if you want to. If not, you're going to be out of business, right? So remember, we spoke about customer, perform due diligence, do that. But what happened to, you know, supporting customer requests? You have to provide the information that we need. And these are all controls and requirements, right? Customer need. Customer must understand which PCI DSS requirements are their third-party vendor's responsibility, which are the customer and which are being shared. And now, even talking about PCI DSS, maybe if you go to the federal marketplace, you start hearing of CRM, that's customer responsibility metric, and we're going to cover that shortly. So you have to test of the shared responsibility. And that's something that you as assessor or GRC analyst working for your organization, you need to be able to understand and work for organization where at times you find a SWOT actually waging the responsibility to the cloud provider. And that's why with that customer responsibility metrics or shared unit there, the customer has already breakdown all those controls. This is shared, this is 100% inherited, or this is, local, you have to do it. So they'll tell you if it's this shared or it's 100% inherited. It means that I will take care of it 100%, right? If they're inheritable, then that's fine. But each time they say shared and then you are not also doing your job, then there's a problem, right? And you're working as a GRC analyst, as I said, where you see something like that, even in your policies, then you need to be able to understand and make sure you guys review those policies to be able to capture or relate to the control definitions, okay? So customer must understand which PCI DSS requirement are the TCP responsibility, which are the customer and exactly which are also shared, right? For example, shared responsibility for data storage. A third-party service provider provide encrypted data storage for a customer. What are their responsibility? They want to maintain physical security, access control for the storage environment. The what of the customer responsibilities? Customer want to ensure proper encryption keys, management, and access right within the stored data. Do you see why I spent some time talking about, encryption? Because now that I'm talking about access key, encryption keys, you guys already know what I'm talking about, right? But what of the shared responsibility? Both the third-party service provider and the customer have roles in ensuring compliance with specific PCI DSS requirements, right? And this brings us to what is known as responsibility matrix for clarity. What is responsibility matrix for clarity? It's a tool to document and clarify the division of responsibility between your vendors and the vendor as well as the customer. We need to be able to have that way people know their responsibility. If not, we might throw some stuff under the bus or under the carpet with that, maybe thinking this person is doing it, and at the end of the day, nobody's doing that. And that is already, a vulnerability, a weakness that a threat can exploit it and can result to security breach or else risks that might affect either one of the CIA triad or multiple, right? Example, a cloud provider may use a matrix to outline which responsibility agents, maybe are they scanning or encryption, are covered by the third-party service provider and which are for the customer. If they are scanning, who is performing the scan? If it has to do with encryption, who is conducting that encryption? Who is encrypting the data? Who is managing it? So we need to be able to have all these shared responsibility and understand what I'm doing, what you're doing. That way we should better, come together, protect users' data, and also to be in compliance with PCI DSS. For example, users requirement, vendor responsibility, customer, and shared. Vulnerability scan. Conduct vulnerability scan on specific IP address. Ensure correct IP address are being scanned. When they are scanning, do you just put your hand and say, you know what, hands and feel like, no, they are scanning, we are good? No. You want to check they are scanning the correct thing, right? And the only way you can do that is by also providing the correct information. But what is the shared responsibility here? Monitors can result, assess vulnerability, and apply patches. Even if that vendor is doing for you, you cannot just follow your arm and say that the vendor is doing. You also have to double check. And that's why once those scans are being run, then we have those vulnerabilities. Then we need to make sure we monitor those scans. We need to assess the vulnerability. And then if they will apply patches, then we do so. What of encryption? Maybe they manage encryption of data. You also manage encryption key and control the access. If they are the one managing the encryption of the data, but guess what? You are managing the encryption key as well as control access. But what are the shared responsibility? That we've discussed already. Review and verify encryption practices ensure to compliance. Are they going to be applying some of the access control as well as physical control that we did mention? What of access control? Implement physical and network level security controls. Manage user access right within the environment. You see, if they are doing their physical and network level, but do you also have to think of who within your organization has to or needs to have access to that data? That's a question for you. But what are the shared responsibilities? First, regular access control audits and reviews of users' permission. So that's something you guys can do to make sure that data are better protected. But when is documentation required? I think I should be able, no, I'm just going to write on. The third-party vendor is first of all meeting with PCI DSS requirement on their customer behalf. So this is shared responsibility for PCI DSS. Then the third-party service provider service impact the security of the customer cardholder. The third-party service documentation is required when third-party service is meeting requirement on PCI DSS requirement on customer behalf, or maybe they have a shared responsibility going on, or might impact cardholder data. But documentation is not needed where there's no shared responsibility, right? And the third-party service does not even impact the security of the cardholder data. So if they are out of scope, then we do not need any documentation. But apart from that, then we'll definitely need documentations. So what's the takeaway? Clearly define the scope and responsibility between third-party service provider and customer to ensure compliance with PCI DSS. Use responsibility metrics to document and clarify roles. Third-party service providers must provide necessary compliance information to support customer PCI DSS assessment. Option for third-party vendor risks to validate PCI DSS compliance. So with this, I'm going to put an end to this video, and I will see you guys in the next video.